All right, so I know we don't always revisit our norms, and it's something that we should do, but I wrote them on here because I wanted to, because I was in a really reflective kind of place, and wanted to look back at the norms that we created at the beginning of the year, and so I kind of listed them, and then I made italics and the ones that we talked about at the beginning of the year, but maybe we haven't done quite as much, and some of those will make time to engage with other disciplines, like we probably hit on that later, but we will share what we're accomplishing in our collaborative pairs, and we will share educational strategies. I think those are ones that we kind of got away from. We kind of haven't done yet as we've been starting to work on this PLC process and this collaborative process and get into the groove of everything. But I think that we are there, and in that spirit, we're actually going to have Genevieve present a PD that she went to. She's going to tell us more about it. She's agreed to come up and talk to us about it. She had been talking to Ms. Foster about it. Ms. Foster's like, wouldn't this be a cool thing to share? So we're going to start with that.
Literally, I'm like, I want to use this now. Sure.
I have your thing up.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I went to a professional development at the Columbia Museum of Art, and it was talking about how English teachers can integrate visual art into their classrooms, but then also how art teachers can integrate like words into their classrooms. And so I feel like I learned a lot as an English teacher, but also as a theater teacher, there's a lot I thought I could use. So I thought I would just share a few things, especially since yesterday I actually used one of the strategies in class, and it went really well. So I want to talk about that. Something that I thought was most important to share with other English teachers was her visual thinking strategies and the way that she words her questions. So we have what's going on in this picture. We're looking at something together as a class. We're just asking a simple what's going on. Follow up, what do you see that makes you say that? So if someone says, I see a tree, okay, well what do you see that makes you say that? We're gonna point, which tree? Is it this tree? Maybe there's multiple. And then what more can we find? And the instructor of the PD really emphasized the word more rather than else. She said she's found that sometimes if you say else, their response, they might think, oh, that wasn't the right answer. Mm-hmm. So you say what more, because we're looking for more things, there's always more. And then just as teachers felicitating this discussion, we're actively listening, we're pointing to specific things. So maybe they saw something that's really small and not other kids can see. But that's also an act of active listening because you're receiving what they said, pointing it out. Paraphrasing, so repeating what they said back to them, and that's a great way to introduce academic vocab. So if there's something that perhaps is a reference to something you're already talking about. And then linking comments to form connections. So, oh, well, remember when Jeremy saw this over here, this looks very similar to that, and so that's showing how, yeah, we're looking at these small things, but big picture that they're connected. So those are just some interesting things. I used this with my journal prompt. So we were going to read Pandora's Box, the myth of Pandora's Box, and they did not know what that was. I had my agenda on the board, and so they were...
Make it big so we can see.
Oh, yeah. They were asking questions. They were like, Pandora's Box, what is that? And so my journal prompt is this painting of Pandora opening the box. So they had no idea what this was. And my prompt was, think about this image as if it were taking place in the middle of a story. So we reviewed plot, so what takes place in the middle, that's your climax. So this is the climax of the story. How is that going to work in a narrative? What's happening? So before I released them to write, something that they thought was really important was, did I include this? Yeah. Talking about nouns, adjectives, and verbs, and building on that. So first I said, okay, what's going on in this picture? Give me some nouns. And so here are some nouns that they gave me. And then after they gave me those, I said, okay, thinking about those nouns, what are some adjectives that we can describe these nouns with, looking at the picture? So they gave me some of those. And then lastly, I asked for verbs. And verbs is the most complicated one, but I thought they did really well. Mm-hmm. So they gave me some verbs. And I said, okay, now we have this whole word bank we can use to help us write these narrative stories. Because typically they say, well, I don't know how to start. You have a whole word bank of choices to take in different directions. And so then they worked on this. I've been doing these since the beginning of the year. Not a day has gone by since I have had to say, at least to one person, okay, no, you need to be writing, be quiet, don't talk. It was silent for 10 minutes. And so I think just talking about the picture and not really saying exactly what was going on, even though specifically with this picture there was very clear, like it's related to the myth, I think that built up their curiosity and it gave them more to work with. So they used up that whole time. They didn't finish early or anything like that. So yeah, that was it. But the instructor of that PD gave me a lot of resources. So I have physical resources and digital resources. So if this is something you might want to do in your classroom, I have a lot of little extra stuff if you want to talk more about it, because I thought it was really interesting and I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah.
That's really good.
Thank you.
I think, to piggyback, I think this makes them better readers.
Yeah.
They become so observant of choices, and then when you start to say, when the authors, why did they choose this word versus this word, like they can relate that to art, you know?
Well,
Go ahead.
oh, and well, we did an activity where we did the same sort of thing, but we did it around the art gallery, and we just stuck sticky notes beneath it with the nouns and the adjectives and the verbs. And then the next step after that was we had to create found poems.
Okay. That's
And that was really neat, and you could really easily do that with a gallery walk here, so you didn't have to go all the way to an art gallery. But it was really neat PD.
Yeah, I love the tie into analysis, because that's what my kids struggle with,
Right.
and just how to make them think more critically about what they're writing. I love that. Just a few reminders before we split off into our groups. In PLC meetings with Ms. Warner, I think you started today.
I did a bunch today, so yeah.
So with us or next Wednesday, you might have a different date. I thought everyone's was Wednesday. But whatever your date is with Ms. Warner, we're gonna share feedback from CCI and setting a SMART goal. And is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, that's really it. I just really want to get some feedback from everyone on how their process is going and what's working, what's not working, like how can we make this process better for individual teams.
CCI is the thing we did in the library where we determine our strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, the collaborative coaching instrument.
Thank you.
And then Megan, she's not here today, but they are working in the district office level on a PLC playbook, which is supposed to have all kinds of resources that we can use for PLC that they've used in different schools, and basically another resource available for us to use in our collaborative pairs. So I think next week I'm gonna have her talk a little more about that. But something to look forward to. And then we're just going to spend the rest of the time working with our collaborative partner on your current skill, whatever skill you're on. And then just keep in mind the upcoming due dates, 12/8, which isn't for a month, at least 8 skills plan cycles complete with proficiency percentages completed, and then to update your long range plan if necessary. Any questions before we break up?
Questions where they write on their phone and they had to draw something that happened in their reading room.
Okay.
So it's 3 different things. So it's going to go through and see sort of how they, I guess, I don't know, should we focus on just one maybe? I'm really interested to see if they can pick up on if they can do that. So let me get the kids who weren't here, so that will, then I can group order from there. But yes, it's 3 separate things.
Yes, right there.
Yes. Yeah, you want to separate those.
I'm just
And then I know, yeah, because that was all, so it was kind of a reading we did yesterday, a reading I did for them, and then on their own. So 3 really different kind of things.
I want to do this whole group. So I
You
can
want me to
so I
run?
can have a whole
Really
group discussion.
not.
I wanted us to work on this together.
Yale knows what he's doing.
That's how I like it. So I make sure everybody.
And so I imagine some kids will get,
And then,
some kids will probably get okay, he's asking his mom to get Zeus to help him, maybe something vague like that. So I'm gonna imagine there's gonna be different.
Yeah.
Did they look?
some did, some didn't.
Yeah, I'm not
Did
sure
they
if
get
that's
it
the
though?
lot
They get
list
what?
I didn't.
Yeah, they did.
So it's pretty simple.
So, tomorrow I'm gonna do, tomorrow I'm gonna do, introduction day 2, and that'd be probably the whole day deal with presentations.
The projects, yeah. So are we thinking one day of the create and then Friday they present? Okay, cool, that's fine.
Should they all?
I know. So they should have gotten, so he's crying to his mom, and he is saying she's a god.
Yes,
Crying
I
to
knew
his
it
mom
was like
and
that,
saying,
that's what he started talking about.
the main
I did.
help the Trojans. So they're currently at war with the Trojans.
But if you think about the landing stations, it's kind of the same thing they're doing.
We can't do anything.
Finding their own information.
We could go on the dates though.
Like this is, well, I'm sorry. So this is compared to age.
Okay.
Alright, so chapter 1, the thing is this.
Okay.
So, yes, I agree, I think it's good, I think it's good. So,
There'll be
this
another
right
day
here
where
is
like
like a Google form, so you're thinking not make that available for them to do.
Right.
That's just reading questions.
Yeah.
On this
Yeah.
at some point, then
I just had it
So
because I
either,
think.
so then they'll choose,
not met,
say,
right? Because I mean, there's no proof whether it's
Right.
met or not.
choose.
Alright, so she was met, Victoria.
Okay, so this is,
And then we have.
so here, this is our teacher 2.
She's absent.
45 buildings,
Alright,
45.
asked, yeah.
And
She
I
was
would say
absent.
the first part maybe
I-
20.
Oh, yeah.
What Genevieve said, what is the question
How about this,
asking?
It's kind of interesting
What is
because
it, how she worded it, what makes
her
you think,
mother
or what was
is
it?
the
And
You know what I mean?
and he actually got rid of
This
well,
This
yeah,
might
What did you
His
see?
daughter's
She-
friend.
So what's that?
his daughter's friend.
Wait, who is the Kai person?
I'm okay
Hi,
with showing it, but I think if we do, the PowerPoint, we're gonna need some kind of.
I like Kai, there's a Kai and a K. Yeah.
Okay, so that's
Oh, yeah, it seems like you're
all-
married.
So that's all this.
Yeah, I bet this is a K.
One of the things that we.
And she's.
Makes you think that. Or is that just the same as the other
They do
one?
seem like they're like saying all good things about it. No.
What verb?
Argument is.
Okay, do you want to link the slide?
Well, because it talks about his wife, and a lot of them are really offended.
But that also could talk about one. That could
I just
also-
left it there.
Let's
to put
try
something
one and
maybe.
see how it goes.
Yeah.
Let me find one.
Okay, do you want me to,
This is Tennessee, we don't use that.
put the link on the, where you're.
Yeah, it is